But what is so new and exciting about this since Elon took over, and why should everybody be buying in?
Where do you see it in 5 years?
I think in 5 years, I see it as a definite billion active users. From my business perspective, I think the thing that the Elon Musk acquisition did for us, it just brought a lot of people's interest to the platform. It brought more people to the platform just naturally. He has the biggest personal brand in the entire planet. So him just acquiring it brought way more people to the platform. For example, Tucker Carlson producing native Tucker
Yeah,
Carlson
true.
on X. A lot of
Didn't he
big
just pass
figures.
Rogan, by the way, like as like the biggest podcast
I
period?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
I heard
And
that
what it
happened
did,
like last week.
what
Hmm.
that's crazy. And what it did too is you see now a lot of I mean, they really pushed video. Video has really it's grown 45% in video views since the Twitter acquisitions from Twitter to X. And you're seeing a lot of the biggest creators in the world post natively now. For example, Lex Friedman posts all his podcasts native to X, full length with timestamps. He just posted an 8.5 hour podcast with Elon Musk and the Neuralink team. Tucker
Dude,
Carlson's
we should do that.
exclusively. Right, you
Yeah.
should. I would give that. I always give that advice when I come on these is post native with timestamps. Tucker Carlson exclusively on X. I even saw, I think it was Apple TV post an entire pilot episode of a TV show in full on X. Here, watch the first episode for free on X. If you like it, come and get the subscription. So what it's done is, it brought more players to the field. At the same time, it's also brought a lot of combatants trying to take it down. I mean, if you've seen the publicity, all of the news says X is dying, X is dying, and then all the data says X is growing, X is growing. So if anything, it's just brought a lot of good natural chaos. I enjoy
Man,
it.
that chaos is crazy though, because I feel like I can't even tell what's true anymore.
Right.
Because then they have that data like, oh, Twitter's dying, X is dying. But then you look at the data and it shows otherwise. Like when you go through this, how do you know what to believe, right? You do
Hmm.
your research and you make the best decisions you can. But it's getting harder and harder, it feels like.
Yeah, and I tell people to just come experience it for yourself. Again, the data's there, the anecdotal experience is there from our clients. They're growing, over and over and over, going more and more and more viral, more and more and more sales. I'd say, there is a long way to go before the platform is mature from a business perspective, like an Instagram or a Facebook. I mean, it's 1/5 the size of Instagram, 2.5 billion versus, 550 million. But that just means that there's a huge opportunity there. Like Gary Vee says, right? It's day trading attention.
100%. Um, Gosh, I'm even trying to think of where to go from here because I want to dive into that, but also maybe some advice for the audience too.
I want to ask
Um,
something quick while you're thinking.
yeah,
Marcos, I don't usually ask these type of things. These are usually kind of like Ben questions. All right, so Superman can fly, dodge bullets, do everything else. Spider-Man shoots little webs. What is your superpower? Like, is it something specifically on X, or is exit period? Like, what is your superpower?
No, I don't think our superpower is the X side of it. I think our superpower, my superpower, is kind of drawing the parallel between a business and their message and the people and the consumer so that you can go viral with the everyday person. Because I think the mistake a lot of people make is they have their message and they have what they want to say and they just put that on a platform and they hope it goes
Instead of maybe
viral.
what people want to hear.
Right, and you have to have that balance, and you have to find parallels that actually are going to resonate with a large TAM, like a large total addressable market, so that you can acquire virality. You can't go virality in these micro niches. You can't get virality in these micro niches unless you're able to draw a parallel to a big enough audience. So, like
mhm.
for example, with ClickFunnels, if you want to talk about building a funnel, and you're saying, you can increase your SEO or your conversion rate by this much percentage, you're going to get diddly squat, right? But if you can say how the everyday person can promote their business or make this much money, right? Now it's going to start appealing to a bigger and bigger market. And you use that as top of funnel. And then you do other kinds of posts to nurture them. And the superpower of X is that you can post so many times in a day without any penalty. So you're able to do those top of funnel posts and the nurture in the same day. And that's really that's the superpower of us, but also the superpower of X.
Mm,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
yeah, right. Couple of questions. Then at some point, Chris, we got. I want to segue into what people can do to get started. Right, some of the
Yeah, of
listeners
course.
that would love to be and have a presence on Twitter, whether for a personal brand or their actual company. But uh, there's been a lot of buzz, right? The last 2.5 years, let's just say, on this platform. Where do you see it in 5 years?
I think in 5 years, I see it as a definite billion active users. I see it in that it's not really even top five. I'd say it's going to be in that top five social media platforms, a billion active users. I think they'll bring back Vine and really take part in that short form video area just because every platform is. I know LinkedIn's testing it out. Twitter's already testing it out, but they're going to bring back Vine, in
Almost
my
have to.
opinion.
People's
Yeah.
attention span,
Yeah.
man. They're like, oh, I get this dopamine hit from a 3-second clip. It's crazy.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I think they'll bring back Vine. I think they'll be a top five social media platform with a billion active users. And I think a lot, if not all of the major businesses, I think the dust will settle on all of these lawsuits and advertising issues. I think they'll fix up their ads platform. And I think all the biggest businesses in the world will be advertising on X, at least a little bit. So that's why I see it in 5 years. And as that global town square, it's already the center for politics and news, but it'll continue to be the center for politics and news.
Yeah. I
Do you
totally
think
agree
that
there.
that almost replaces like the CNNs or the CNBCs? I'm not probably in 5 years, but do you think that that's an eventual type thing?
I think so. And this is purely anecdotal, but like my parents don't even have cable anymore. And
Right.
the XTV app is being tested. So, once XTV comes and it's already the center for information, I think it's going to be kind of that like interesting middle ground of like Facebook in a sense that the older generation is going to use it for news. Yeah, I think it's just going to replace, I think the quote unquote mainstream media is dying. I think it's just a rotation. It's just evolving. I don't think there's a
Yeah.
need for these super big news outlets. So
Yeah, I agree
if
with you.
anything, those news outlets will evolve into social
They'll
media
have
pages.
to.
Mhm.
Yeah, they'll have to
Yeah.
adapt, right?
I
Right.
mean, guys, a few weeks ago, whenever it happened, I don't remember. Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race, and the White House staff found out from a tweet. Like they literally announced it on Twitter before it was announced internally in the White House, which is wild. And then you look at, and Elon Musk, Jordan Peterson went live, over 700,000 people watching live on
Massive.
Twitter. And as we speak now, I think Donald Trump and Elon are fixing to go live on Monday next week. This is August 8th of the recording, so we'll see what happens there. Who knows? But um, Marcos, you spend a lot of time on this platform, student of the game. You have to build your Mount Rushmore of favorite Twitter accounts of all time, brands or people. Who are you picking?
That is a loaded question. Let me let me give it some
Wendy's,
thought.
Chipotle. I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
The floor's yours. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is a crazy question. I'm gonna go right off the bat. I'm gonna start with Elon. He deserves the shout out. I
Right.
have his
Come on.
notifications on. I love his stuff, and I love how he has no filter. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, I really like Mario Nafal. He's just kind of like the main guy for like news spaces. It's not his account it's not him as a person. It's his account as an aggregate. He's the guy who's hosting these spaces that has like Elon Musk talking to like politicians and Vivek talking to like the most random like entrepreneurs. It's insane. I love that account. If you are new to Twitter, you have to follow that account just for those spaces with like hundreds of thousands of people. So those are going to be the big two right off the bat. This is going to be a complete curveball. I don't even know if they're still doing it, but Opera GX is like a browser, but they run their company page. It's one of those funny company pages that just tweets like they're like a little kid and they're just like always joking around. I'm gonna go with Opera GX because they're off the top of my
Okay.
head. They're so funny. It's funny seeing a company page make jokes because it's like, isn't that a company?
Yeah,
So those
that's
are
awesome.
going to be, yeah, that's going to be off the top of my head.
I'm trying to sign it into Twitter now. I somehow got signed out.
Yeah,
I had to
it
clear my
is.
cache yesterday out there. As we're live,
I gotta
if you're
resurrect mine now, man. Like this is the new cool. I thought
No, and
LinkedIn was the new cool, but I'm like a year behind. You
I'll
do stuff with
go.
LinkedIn though too, don't you?
Yeah, wait, one more though.
yeah,
Greg, it's like Greg 1C has like a bunch of numbers, 1667. He is the
I know who you're
funniest.
talking
You know
about.
who I'm talking about? He's under every big celebrity and entrepreneur and politician's thing, and he just makes the most oblivious jokes that just don't even make sense. They're so funny, they're so harmless, and it's real comedy. So yeah,
Yeah,
Greg's gonna be my last one.
it is so entertaining. Yeah, it's like a picture of like a funny looking or if whoever the real person
It
is. I
might be him,
apologize. It's
yeah.
a funny, yeah, it could be him. Yeah, funny looking dude. He's like making a quirky face or something like that, from what I remember.